Every time you feel a rush of pleasure from tapping your card or clicking Buy Now, your brain is actively working against your bank account. That brief high is part of a biological loop programmed to keep you broke. It's easy to look at an empty checking account and assume the problem is your paycheck. The obvious math suggests that if you just earned a higher salary, you would finally have enough left over to save. This chart shows how spending behavior typically scales with earnings. Across these three salary tiers, $40,000, $70,000, and $100,000, the spending line rises in lockstep with the income bar. At every level, the gap between what is earned and what is spent remains at zero. As your salary climbs, your baseline for what feels like a normal life climbs right along with it. You upgrade your apartment, your car, and your groceries. You run faster on the treadmill, but the distance between your feet and financial freedom does not change. Building a safety net requires fighting 1 billion years of evolution. Our neural architecture was optimized for immediate consumption, creating a persistent biological drag on long-term accumulation. Deep inside that hardware is a neurotransmitter called dopamine. When this specific molecule collides with a receptor, it fires off a signal that makes you feel good. It is the primary mechanism behind human motivation. But dopamine does not reward you for owning things. It rewards you for wanting them. The chemical spike you get from staring at a new pair of shoes in a store window is massive compared to the tiny blip of satisfaction you get when you are actually holding them in your closet. Tech companies and retailers understand this mechanism perfectly. Every notification badge, one-click checkout button, and targeted social media ad is reverse engineered to trigger that exact spike of anticipation. You see an item, your brain releases the chemical, and you buy the product to resolve the tension. The rush peaks for a few minutes, then it fades completely, leaving you with less money and a renewed craving for the next hit. Your daily micro-reactions are actively harvested. The modern economy is designed to extract these biological impulses and convert them directly into corporate revenue. Psychologists call this continuous loop the hedonic treadmill. It explains why the purchases that thrilled you a year ago barely register for you today. This diagram details the biological adaptation behind that boredom. When your brain is constantly flooded with dopamine hits from impulse shopping, it physically shrinks its own receptors to protect itself from overstimulation. The capacity of the receptor gets smaller, and the excess chemical simply overflows and is wasted. Because your receptors have shrunk, you require a larger dose of dopamine to feel your baseline level of pleasure. A simple $5 coffee no longer works. It has to be a $15 specialized drink. The cost of the item doubles, but the satisfaction wave you feel continues to drop. You end up trapped in a cycle where you must constantly buy the newer phone or the nicer clothes, simply to stave off feeling deprived. Escaping this cycle requires recognizing that your tastes are not becoming more refined. Your biology is strictly demanding heavier chemical hits to compensate for a diminishing capacity to feel joy. This diagram illustrates a cognitive blind spot called temporal discounting. Your brain is wired to survive the present moment, meaning it vividly feels the comfort of a brightly lit immediate reward, but it struggles to visualize a much larger reward that exists decades away, treating it as faded and nearly invisible. So while you are actively chasing the next immediate rush, you ignore the quiet, passive math of compound interest. This timeline tracks the math of those micro-decisions. If you redirect just $200 a month away from impulse buys and put it into an index fund, over 20 years, that money grows to roughly $180,000. Every time you spend that $200 to satisfy a fleeting urge, the compound growth does not disappear. It simply transfers to the shareholders of the companies you bought from. Yielding to temporal discounting means you make a direct trade. You purchase a few minutes of present comfort and pay for it with your own long-term financial security. Sustained wealth building relies on environmental design. By installing mechanical locks that secure assets automatically, the process moves outside the realm of human choice entirely. The first system is automated saving. You set up a recurring transfer that moves a percentage of your paycheck directly into an investment account the day you get paid. If the money is gone before your brain perceives it is there, you cannot crave spending it. The second is a mandatory 48-hour pause on any non-essential purchase over $50. That 2-day window provides the exact amount of time your neurochemistry needs to flush out the dopamine spike, allowing you to evaluate the item with a clear head. Next, you audit and cancel forgotten subscriptions. Those recurring $15 charges are invisible drains that quietly siphon off thousands of dollars in potential wealth over time. The final step involves repurposing the brain's love for progress indicators. By tracking net worth weekly, the rising numerical value becomes a visual proxy for future potential. Over time, the brain begins to treat this growth signal as a successful hunt, releasing dopamine for the accumulation of capital rather than the consumption of it. You cannot delete the dopamine response from your biology. But by putting rigid systems between your impulses and your wallet, you decide whether your future self is being built today or robbed.